Well, Michael Cohen set up a Delaware-based LLC called Essential Consultants, LLC, on October 17th, 2016. 10 days later, Michael Cohen funneled $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels through Essential Consultants, LLC, to buy her silence about the story she had already told and would tell again this year about the night she had sex with Donald Trump 4 months after his last child was born, complete with the detail of spanking Donald Trump with a magazine that had Donald Trump and some of his other children on the cover. The only other thing we know Michael Cohen used Essential Consultants, LLC for was another hush money payment to another woman to protect another rich man. The woman being paid was Miss November in Playboy magazine in 2010, and the man being protected by her silence was Los Angeles multimillionaire Elliot Brody, a close friend of Donald Trump's. Michael Cohen negotiated a payment of $1.6 million to Miss November, allegedly so that she would remain silent about an affair with the long-married Elliot Brody, which reportedly resulted in a pregnancy that ended with an abortion. The Wall Street Journal reported on April 15th that Michael Cohen's total fee for negotiating that hush money agreement was $250,000, with a first payment of $62,500 to Essential Consultants, LLC, and a second payment of $187,500 directly to Mr. Cohen. But that payment was after the Wall Street Journal had revealed in January that Michael Cohen had used Essential Consultants, LLC to pay Stormy Daniels. So the only thing we have known Michael Cohen and his Essential Consultants, LLC, to be involved with is sex. Sex that rich men don't want their wives or anyone else to find out about. Until tonight, thanks to Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, we now know that Michael Cohen has used Essential Consultants, LLC for much, much more than sex hush money deals. An investigative summary prepared by Michael Avenatti and his law firm, released this evening, says that Michael Cohen used Essential Consultants, LLC to, quote, engage in suspicious financial transactions totaling $4,425,033.46. And joining us now is Michael Avenatti, the attorney for Stormy Daniels, who has released this today. Michael, we all studied this document of yours when it came out today, with these lists of payers, basically, into Essential Consultants, LLC. How did you assemble this list?
Carefully.
But as I said, I'm not aware that your lawsuit with Stormy Daniels has reached a discovery stage where a court is approving you issuing subpoenas to Michael Cohen to reveal this kind of information to you, which would become available to you eventually in this kind of lawsuit. So I expected you were going to get here. I can't imagine how you got here now.
Well, Lawrence, I mean, this is not your average case. Number one, as I think we've talked about in the past. And number two, you know, we have a lot of tools in our toolbox that we use in connection with cases. And we have worked diligently for many, many months relating to this case, long before we filed the case, relating to making sure we had our ducks in a row before we filed the case. And, you know, look, I've made some bold predictions over the course of this case. I think a number of those have come true. I pride myself on under-promising and over-delivering, and I think we've proven ourselves in that regard. We stand behind everything that we put in that executive summary 100%. We understood the magnitude of the accusations and what was being put in that document when we compiled it. It was double and triple checked, and now we're having independent news organizations vouch the accuracy of what we've stated. And it's all there. It's all 100% accurate. And by the way, to the extent that Mr. Trump or Michael Cohen has information that contradicts what we've put in our executive summary, let them come forward, let them release it. In fact, I'll place a challenge right now. Michael Cohen, if you're watching this, authorize your attorneys to release the bank statements, the source documentation from this account to the American people, to the media, so that people can get to the bottom of this. And to the extent that we haven't been accurate about something, then they can prove it up. But Lawrence, that's not going to happen because they want to hide the information from the American people, because it's only going to get more ugly the more information that comes out. The number to the $4.4 million number is only going to get bigger. And I mean, this thing is a pig. And they could try to put lipstick on a pig tonight, next week, next month, but it's still going to be a pig. This thing's ugly, and it's going to get worse for the president and for Michael Cohen. And it doesn't matter how many times they send out Rudy Giuliani to call us names and call me an ambulance chaser and do everything in his power to distract away from the facts. The facts are ugly. These are facts.
In your executive summary, as you call it, of all of this money going in and out of the LLC, you identify Victor Vekselberg as this Russian billionaire who is behind a big flow of money into the LLC. Describe that point that you're making.
Between January of 2017 and approximately August of 2017, this Russian oligarch with significant ties to Vladimir Putin utilized an entity that he has control over, a U.S.-based entity that is wholly owned by a Russian parent company, to funnel approximately $500,000 to Michael Cohen, the personal attorney at the right hand of the President of the United States, who at the time, at least during a significant period of that time, not only held himself out as the personal attorney to the president, but also was employed by the Trump organization. Now, the big question is this. All this money comes into this account, this Essential Consultants LLC. We have reason to believe that it didn't all go to Michael Cohen individually. Michael Cohen needs to disclose where the balance of that money went. And if it went to Donald Trump or the Trump organization, and if Michael Cohen was part of a scheme to sell access to the President of the United States, that would be a rather shocking development, but I don't think that that is out of the realm of possibility at this point. Lawrence, let me say this. We know for a fact that there were 3 what are called suspicious activity reports filed by First Republic Bank with the Treasury Department relating to this account, relating to the activity in the account from October 27th of 2016, which is the payment of $130,000 to my client, all the way up through approximately January of this year. The Treasury Department and the Secretary to the Treasury should immediately release those suspicious activity reports to the American people and to the media. They deserve to see them. They are on file, and we have demanded that they be released previously. They have refused to release them. We believe this is part of a continued cover-up by the administration because they don't want the American people to know what the right hand of the president, Michael Cohen, was doing in and out of this account. They don't want the American people to know the truth about the $130,000 payment. They don't want the American people to know about the close ties to Russia and others. And enough is enough. They ought to release these suspicious activity reports, and the American people should demand it tonight, tomorrow, and next week until it happens. We want this released. And Lawrence, let me say this. If there's nothing to hide here, and if it was all above board, and it's all legit, which is what Rudy Giuliani and others want you to believe, then the documents will prove that out. People lie, documents don't. Period.
The American-based company that you say was basically funneling money, possibly from the Russian oligarch, disputes what you've said, and I'm going to come to that in a moment. But I want to go back over something you just said because I haven't heard anything about this before from you, and it was not in your executive summary. You talked about the where that $500,000 went. You're now talking about where the money that came into the LLC went, and you're indicating that you have reason to believe it was distributed beyond just Michael Cohen. Does the LLC have any employees?
Other than Michael Cohen, who I don't think technically is an employee, we're not aware of any employees at the LLC.
And that's typical of LLCs. It's very common that they don't have any employees, especially when they're shells like this for moving money.
Correct.
But Michael Cohen is the only person we know with a formal association with that LLC, isn't he?
That's true.
So when you say you have reason to believe that the money that went into this LLC went to people or a person other than Michael Cohen, And you made a reference to it possibly being the President of the United States. Are you suggesting that you have information that the money that went into that LLC found its way to Donald Trump?
No, but we don't know one way or the other. Here's what I believe. A significant sum of money came into the LLC during the time period of October 2016 until January, at a minimum, of this year. Okay, a lot of money came into the LLC. Far beyond the $500,000, far beyond the money that Novartis paid, far beyond the money that AT&T paid. We do not believe that all of the expenditures, subsequent expenditures by the LLC, or outflows of the money, we do not believe all of that went to Michael Cohen. We believe that that is really the issue at this point. I mean, it's not only about the money that was received, it's where did the money go, okay? The old adage, follow the money. That's what this is really about.
And just to be clear, where the money went is not in your executive summary tonight. That's another stage of this investigation that you're working on.
Maybe we're just getting started.
That's what I'm saying. Is that the next stage we would expect?
Well, I don't want to telegraph the next stage.
Okay.
But we haven't emptied all of our cards.
Okay, I want to get into this dispute now with Columbus Nova. That is the American-based company that the New York Times is reporting tonight. Their biggest client is the Russian oligarch that you're talking about, Viktor Vekselberg. And so they issued this statement tonight in response to what you've released today, saying Columbus Nova is a management company solely owned and controlled by Americans. After the inauguration, the firm hired Michael Cohen as a business consultant regarding potential sources of capital and potential investments in real estate and other ventures. Reports today that Viktor Vekselberg used Columbus Nova as a conduit for payments to Michael Cohen are false. The claim that Viktor Vekselberg was involved or provided any funding for Columbus Nova's engagement of Michael Cohen is patently untrue. Neither Viktor Vekselberg nor anyone else other than Columbus Nova's owners were involved in the decision to hire Cohen or provided funding for his engagement.
You want me to react to that?
Yes.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that they haven't disclosed, A, how much they paid Michael Cohen, B, why did they hire Michael Cohen, C, why did they start paying Michael Cohen in January of 2017 through approximately August or September of 2017. They don't discuss the oligarch's cousin, who's the CEO of the entity.
Right, and he is an American citizen now, the oligarch's cousin.
I think he has dual citizenship. Okay,
so that's one way they get to claim that it is totally American owned.
Right. I mean, look, of all the real estate consulting enterprises or businesses and individuals in New York, and as you know, there's a lot of real estate here in New York. Of all the people that you could hire for that, and all the people that you could hire for potential capital investment, they just happen to hire Michael Cohen, I guess because he instills such confidence in individuals when he communicates with them. I mean, when are they going to disclose what they hired this guy for? Why'd they pay him $500,000? We now have AT&T. They've issued a statement that they paid Michael Cohen $200,000 for, I believe they said, insight into the administration. I found that to be rather interesting. I guess in order to gain insight into the administration, I guess you have to pay $200,000. Maybe that helps explain why the American people don't have a lot of insight into the administration, because most of them can't afford $200,000 for it. But I digress. But separate apart from that, Lawrence, look, there's no question that this has all the markings of a pay-to-play type scenario. Okay, if we were talking about a U.S. mayor,
and certainly, by the way, the AT&T payments, which we have here, we can put up on the board. AT&T, you've reported 4 payments of $50,000 each on a monthly basis, and that looks to me like not an unusual amount for retaining a lobbyist to deal with the new administration. Michael Cohen never registered as a lobbyist.
Correct.
AT&T had giant lobbying issues with this administration because this president had said he was opposed to the merger that AT&T wanted to engage in, and so they had plenty of reason to try to find who can influence this president.
Well, and AT&T has confirmed the payments contained in our report. Okay, so that just further adds to the accuracy of it. I think AT&T's statement is accurate. I think they paid the money to Michael Cohen probably because he suggested to AT&T that he could provide access to the president and could act as a lobbyist, or basically someone that could shepherd whatever their cause was at the time through to the president. But he's not registered as a lobbyist. He didn't make the requisite disclosures as a lobbyist. And by the way, let's not forget that this is a candidate, this is a president who ran on this whole candidacy of draining the swamp, and how the lobbyists were going to be closed out of the process and they weren't going to be allowed into the White House anymore. And meanwhile, now we find out that you have Michael Cohen, who had an office next to Donald Trump in Trump Tower for many, many years. And this guy appears to be selling access to the President of the United States. And so now we look at where'd that money go? Did some of it go back to the Trump Organization? Was it all provided to Michael Cohen? I don't think it was. And what did the president know about it? And why did the president allow his personal attorney? And by the way, this is not his formal, or his former personal attorney, Lawrence. You've shown the clip many times. I've sat here, we've talked about it. In April of this year, the president stood on Air Force One, and he referred people to his attorney. And he said, Michael Cohen is my attorney, not was my attorney, not used to be my attorney, not was my attorney back in 2016. He said that he is his attorney. So this is a guy that's starting in about 2006 or 7, served as the personal attorney to the President of the United States all the way up until about April of this year. So this entire time period that he's receiving this money, the $500,000, the money from AT&T, the money from Novartis, all of this money into this Essential Consultants LLC. The entire time, he is the personal attorney to the President of the United States. He's not making any disclosure about it. He's not registering as a lobbyist. He hasn't provided any explanation for it. Lawrence, the bottom line is this. The American people are really smart. This thing stinks. They know it. We know it. They need to come clean about it.
You've made a reference to the payments from Novartis, which are the strangest looking payments in the entire list when you look at them.
I agree with you 100. Your instincts are spot on.
We're going to get to those in a minute. It's a pharmaceutical company. But I want to stay on something that you've been raising, and you've been raising repeatedly, and that is, where did the money go? And what I hear you suggesting is where the money went is a much, much dirtier story than where the money came from.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, look, let's take a step back. We don't know whether it's dirty or not, but the whole thing appears to be dirty. And Michael Cohen can clear this up immediately. All they have to do is just, post the bank statements from this account that show all the inflows and all the outflows. And we're not talking about a lot of documents, by the way. Rudy Giuliani went on the news the other day and he said there's like 1.2 million pages of documents relating to the Stormy Daniels case. That's a bunch of nonsense. There's not 1.2 million pages of documents. It's a pretty straightforward case we're dealing with. So bank statements, we're talking about bank statements from October of 16 through just say April of this year. I mean, that's not that many. How many pages is that? They should just post those 30 or 50 pages, PDF pages, and post them on Twitter, right? The president likes to tweet. They can just post them on Twitter and everybody can look through them. And if there's nothing there, everybody will say, oh, you know what? That Avenatti character, he doesn't know what he's talking about. None of the items in the executive summary checked out. It's a bunch of nonsense. And, I'll go back to California and never hear from me again. So that's what they should do if in fact they have nothing to hide. But guess what? You know what? I'm highly confident they're not going to provide these bank statements.
I think we're going to hear from you again.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.